She stepped up to the gate, excited for her flight, but the moment she handed over her ticket, everything changed. The airline employee hesitated, scanning her up and down, doubt creeping into their expression. "Are you sure you're in the right line?" they asked, their tone laced with something unspoken. Passengers behind her shifted impatiently, but she remained calm, used to moments like this. She explained she had the correct ticket, but the gate agent wasn't convinced. A supervisor was called, and whispers spread through the crowd. People stared. The tension thickened. She took a slow breath, reaching into her jacket. "Does this help?" she said, revealing a badge that instantly changed everything. The color drained from the employee's face. Others gasped. Suddenly, the people who doubted her were scrambling to fix their mistake. But the damage was done, and she wasn't about to let it slide. The gate agent's hands trembled as they looked at the badge, their entire demeanor shifting in an instant. I didn't realize," they stammered, forcing an awkward smile. Other airline staff nearby exchanged nervous glances, now suddenly eager to assist. But she had seen this before, respect only given when power was proven. She remained steady, watching their reaction. It wasn't just about the inconvenience. It was about something deeper, something that had followed her through every airport, every security checkpoint, every moment where people judged her before they knew her. A few passengers whispered, trying to piece together what was happening. Some looked embarrassed, while others simply watched, waiting for the situation to unfold. But she wasn't in a rush. She wanted to see how they would handle their mistake. Would they apologize, or would they pretend nothing had happened? Either way, she wasn't going to let this slide. The silence between them stretched, heavy and unspoken. The gate agent cleared their throat, forcing a tight-lipped smile. "It was just a misunderstanding," they said quickly, avoiding eye contact. But she had seen this play out too many times before. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an assumption, one that nearly kept her from boarding a flight she had every right to take. A security officer had noticed the commotion and stepped closer, scanning the scene. Their eyes flicked to her badge, then to her face, trying to assess whether they needed to step in. She met their gaze, unflinching. No words were exchanged, but she could tell they knew exactly what had just happened. Meanwhile, a woman standing nearby shook her head. "I knew something was off," she muttered to another passenger, as if she had expected trouble from the start. That was the part that stung the most. It wasn't just about the airline. It was about the people who had already made up their minds about her before she even spoke. The agent, still fumbling, finally printed her boarding pass, sliding it across the counter. "You're all set," they said, forcing another uneasy smile. But she didn't move just yet. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. She picked up her boarding pass slowly, but instead of walking away, she looked the gate agent in the eyes. "That's it?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The agent hesitated, clearly hoping she would just let it go. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, sensing the weight of the moment. Some avoided her gaze, pretending not to notice. Others watched, waiting to see what would happen next. The security officer, still standing nearby, finally spoke. "Is there a problem here?" Their voice was neutral, but there was an edge to it, like they were assessing whether they had stepped into something bigger. She turned slightly, lifting her badge so it caught the light. "I want to know why I had to show this before I was allowed to board." The agent opened their mouth, then closed it. No excuse would sound good enough now. The whispers around them grew louder. A man in a suit shook his head. "Unbelievable," he muttered. The tension was at its peak. The airline staff knew they had messed up, but what would they do next? Would they own up to it, or try to brush it under the rug? Either way, she wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. Before the agent could stammer out another excuse, a voice cut through the tension. "Ma'am, I need to see your badge again." She turned to find another security officer approaching, this one different from the first. His expression was unreadable, but there was something about the way he asked that made the air feel heavier. The crowd went quiet, sensing another shift. She held up her badge, steady as ever. "You need to see it again?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The officer glanced at the airline staff, then back at her. Just a routine verification. Routine. She almost laughed. It wasn't routine when she first walked up. It wasn't routine when they questioned her without cause. And now, suddenly, when the airline was caught in their mistake, another layer of scrutiny appeared. The gate agent, still flustered, looked relieved, like they had been thrown a lifeline. Maybe they thought this would shift the focus away from their own mistake. Passengers started murmuring again, some now recording the interaction. The energy in the room shifted. She squared her shoulders, holding her badge up once more. "Go ahead," she said. "Verify it." If they wanted to escalate this, they had no idea what they were in for. The officer studied her badge for a long moment, the weight of the situation settling over everyone. The gate agent, now visibly uncomfortable, shifted nervously behind the counter. The tension in the air was almost unbearable. People were still watching, still recording, waiting to see how this would play out. Then the unexpected happened. The first security officer, the one who had been observing quietly, finally stepped forward. "That's enough," they said, their voice firm. "She's already been verified." The second officer hesitated, caught off guard. "I just need to." "No," the first officer interrupted, shaking their head. "This wasn't about verification. We all know that." Their eyes flicked toward the gate agent, making it clear who they were really talking about. The silence that followed was deafening. The gate agent's face turned red, and for the first time, they looked truly ashamed. Then came the final twist. Another airline employee, one who had been standing off to the side, stepped forward. "Ma'am," they said carefully, "we sincerely apologize for what happened here. And I need you to know, this wasn't the first complaint about this kind of treatment at this gate." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Oh." The employee nodded. "If you're willing, we'd like to discuss this further. Off the record for now." She glanced at the shaken gate agent, then at the officers, then at the growing crowd. This was bigger than just her. And now they knew she wasn't walking away quietly. She slid her badge back into her jacket and gave a small nod. "I think that's a conversation worth having." She took one last look at the gate agent, who now seemed smaller, avoiding her gaze. This wasn't just about an apology, it was about accountability. And now they all knew she wasn't someone who would be dismissed so easily. The security officer who had stood up for her gave a small nod, a silent acknowledgement. The second officer, realizing they had stepped into something much bigger, simply stepped back. The airline employee who had spoken up gestured toward a quieter area. "Let's talk," they said. She took a deep breath, then walked forward, not just for herself, but for everyone who had been through this before and never had the chance to speak up. As she disappeared from view, the crowd slowly thinned, conversations buzzing with what they had just witnessed. Today, things had played out differently. And maybe, just maybe, this moment would make sure it didn't happen again.